My name's Greg Abbott, and you're listening to the Blue Army podcast. Enjoy.
All right, Maras, just before we get things kicked off with the podcast, I just want you to do me a favour. Picture this scene. It's Sunday morning. It was a good night, but I bet you're feeling it now. And there's no point in just sitting on the couch all day, wallowing and suffering with dry mouth. You want to get yourself up, and you want to get yourself down to Bank Street in Carlisle. And when you're there, you want to follow your nose, and you will find John Watts and Sons Cafe and their amazing new brunch menu, which includes full English breakfast served from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's right, all day John Watts and Sons breakfast. What more could you want on a Sunday? Get yourself out of bed at 9 in the morning, get yourself out of bed at midday. It doesn't matter, you'll still have enough time to go down to John Watts and Sons on Bank Street in Carlisle and get yourself a full English breakfast. And yes, before you ask, it does include a free juice, coffee or a tea, and is actually less than a tenner. So I don't think I need to do much more selling to convince you where to go on Sunday morning this week. It's the newest sponsor here on the Blue Army podcast. We're proudly associated with John Watts and Sons Cafe on Bank Street. Go down there and try the new brunch menu. And while you're there, just mention that you heard about it here on the Blue Army podcast. Thank you so much for listening.
My name is Matty Robson.
My name is Chris Philly.
My name is Paul Anderson.
My name is Mark Boyd.
Hello, my name is Derek Combs and I listen to the Blue Army podcast.
My name's Toby Show Silva and welcome to the Blue Army podcast.
I'll just hit record because as the audience would have already just heard right at the start of this podcast, gentlemen, you get 10% off for brunch every single Sunday with John Watt. But, you know, because we've had another bit of a shit week, haven't we, lads? A bit deja vu in it this episode. 1-0, losing, feels
Not
a bit
scoring.
samey. So we have to do something, you know, that isn't exactly the same as what we did last week. We have to break it up somehow. And I've managed to wiggle an extra 10% off at John Watts on Brunton Park blend coffees. If you go to Brunton Park on Saturday, which I'm assuming most of you do that are listening to this podcast, and if you've ever had a coffee at Brunton Park this season or last season and you've really enjoyed it, that was a John Watts coffee, Brunton blends. And if you go to John Watts on Bank Street any day of the week for this particular deal, you can get 10% off as much Brunton blend coffee as you can afford. But you get 10% off it, so, you know, 10% more. So, you know, extra deals, extra reasons to maybe just pop down to the brunch on the Sunday. Try that Eggs Benedict, that looks absolutely beautiful. They've got halloumi stacks and sweet potato hash, which is just phenomenal, lads. Absolutely phenomenal food. That's every single Sunday at 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. Brunch menu served all day. John Watts on Bank Street. Gentlemen, I've got something for you, Will. So we get your screens up. You're all ready for that league table stuff in a minute.
Oh, yes.
I've got a bit of a story for you, gentlemen. So obviously, as we know, on Saturday, unfortunately, we lost 1-0 to Lake Norrie. Bad times. We also know I work at Brunton Park, and I'm a part of I chef, basically. I'm chefing, I'm doing breakfast. And in this particular morning, Monday morning, you might be forgiven for thinking that the atmosphere was a bit low, a bit, you know, standing on eggshells, maybe, a bit nervy, this, that, and the other. So I kind of decided to keep myself out the way and hide away in the kitchen for most of the morning. And around 8:30 in the morning, Mr. Paul Simpson himself knocked on the kitchen door. This is the first time this has ever happened. He came in the kitchen. I turned my music down straight away. And he basically was telling me that he would like to use one of the rooms that isn't our dining room to hold a bit of a team meeting in. And the room that he wanted to use was Legends Lounge. And the reason he found Legend Lounge so appropriate for the little team meeting that he wanted to have with the first team squad, as I was lucky enough to find out as I was scrambling for my keys and unlocking doors all around the stadium to try and find this Legends Lounge. It's because he wanted to have a word with the first team as they're chasing down promotion, that these men on the wall in Legends Lounge, if you've ever been in there, we're talking Kevin Gray's, Michael Bridges, Peter Murphy's, Carl Hawley's,
Simpsons.
Paul Simpson's, exactly. There's legends all over this wall. And the reason these legends are on the wall, Paul was telling me, he was basically giving me the speech that he was about to give to the first team in about an hour's time. Is that the reason these legends are on the wall is because they won promotion for Carlisle United. They are just, they're remembered forever for what they did for this town and this city, and they still mean so much to this city and this town so many years later, and it can't be something that you take for granted. Look at me, look at my career, and look how things are going. And at that moment, I didn't really have anything I could really say to him other than, oh.
You got to appreciate the work he puts into these intros.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome back to the Blue Army podcast. This is, of course, episode 103. That was a genuine story that actually happened. Genuinely was a real story that actually happened. And I am absolutely buzzing to be joined by the two men I love to call the Cumbrian Brain Trust. That's right. It's Liam and Will. How are we doing, boys?
Well, I mean, you kind of summed up how probably most Carlisle fans are doing. I'm doing all right. The weather's getting better, but when it comes
the weather has been class last couple of days.
It's been lovely.
It has.
To football, worrying times.
Yeah, exactly. Very much in contrast to the travel and support.
It's been another tough weekend. Yeah, you were. That's right. You were down, and you can tell us all about your travels, mate. And we'd love to know sort of how the way back felt and how long that journey really was. I mean, how did you were on the bus, weren't you, with the Warwick Road M boys? That was the travel arrangements?
They're the ones. Yeah. Well, one of them does my my thumbnails, Sonny Kirkwood, and he sort of messaged me and said, there's a few spare seats on the bus. Do you want one or two? So I took two, and I took one of my mates with me. And it was really good. It was really good. Well, it was on the way down, anyways.
Yeah.
Not so much on the way back up. It's a little bit quieter.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of them that happens with away journeys. That's why Leighton Orient's such a difficult one to do. On the back end of a loss, and you can forgive players and supporters for maybe sticking around in that area and not wanting to make the grueling journey back north. But Liam, do you get straight back on the bus after the defeat? What was the crack?
Yeah, pretty much straight back on. It was a thing of getting back so late as well. And look, pretty much all of them lot live in Carlisle. So, but I don't. So I had to drive another hour after that. After I got off the bus back home. So it was a good journey up, or well, I suppose a good journey down. But back up, I had to get up at 4 a.m. to get through to Carlisle in time for the bus, and then you get back at about just after 12, and you think, it's a long day. It's a good day. It's a good travel. I assume I would have been a lot more happy and energetic on the way back up if we'd at least scored a goal, or even got a draw. But yeah, good day, but very long day.
Yeah, Liam, do you know what, though? Don't worry about it, mate, because I got something at this point of the show that is absolutely engineered to cheer you up, pal. That's right, boys. It's time for the Blue Army podcast, Joke of the Week. Is he I think he's trying to. It's the Blue Army podcast, Joke of the Week. Changing things up, lads. You've got to, no one really listens when we lose anyway. Honestly, the downloads Like, honestly, it's awful.
Yeah, give him a joke.
As well, you know, you're gonna give him
Liven it
something.
up.
So I've tried to make an effort. And Liam, you're in the habit of spoiling these jokes at the moment, which does it'll be honest, it does turn out to be funnier than the actual joke itself. So if anything, I feel like I'm playing towards the crowd now. So here we go with another joke. Here we go. Here's the joke of the week. What do you call a magic owl?
I don't know. What do you call a magic girl?
We stumped both of them.
Yeah.
Ooh, Dini!
Oh.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah, it's one of those.
One of those ones that'll go off in the not quite the maybe pile. It won't live long in the memories, but something that does live long in the memories, boys, is everybody's favorite duo segment. That's right. It's time for the League Two Roundup, where we get to find out what's been happening here.
What's been happening there? It's the League Two Roundup with Little Wells.
You notice I'm warming up my voice. There might be more singing later. We'll see.
Oh, okay.
Well, anyway, boys, let's go for it. Wills, I believe you're going to take charge of results. So let's see how people got on this weekend.
Yeah, so obviously Carlisle getting beaten by league leaders Leyton Orient. Other results around the promotion area, maybe not that bad for us. It keeps us. I think Paul Sims has made a point of saying it's still in our own hands because Northampton and Stevenage. It's not in our own hands. Sorry. Yeah, Northampton and Stevenage could only draw 1-1. In two minds about which of those was going to be better for us, but a draw, a point apiece between the two teams that we're looking to overhaul and get back into the automatic places isn't too bad. Mansfield, I think, Mansfield have now scored more than us because they beat Crawley Town, our favourite team. The team on a little revival.
Yeah, they were on a little revival. We were talking about their relegation chances last week, weren't we?
4-1 against a decent team. Now, Mansfield have now scored 59 goals. Obviously, we've not scored in a while, so Mansfield we're now only the third highest goal scorers in the division. Some interesting results elsewhere that maybe don't affect the top end of the table, but Barrow beat Gillingham 2-1, something we couldn't do. Scored 2 goals against Gillingham. The goals there came from...
All right, Wales, fucking hell. I already feel a bit shit, like, Jesus.
Yeah, so an own goal by Glenn Morris within the first 10 minutes. Gillingham did equalise. Barrow got a goal in the 94th minute. Late winner and took all 3 points there. Another one is, Hartlepool getting a win at home to Swindon Town, 2-1 to Hartlepool. Again, like Swindon Town, just outside the playoffs, not on great form. Hartlepool they've drawn 5 in a row, but now they've got a win. Again, that 94th minute again. Swindon had led in this game, and then in the 88th and 94th minute, Hartlepool turned the game on its head. 2 goals in the space of 6 minutes, and Hartlepool took the points, something that will no doubt help their relegation battle, and Liam will talk about that in a bit. Other results don't really affect a lot either end of the table. Colchester got another draw, 0-0 Newport County. Crewe beat Doncaster 2-0 at Doncaster in a pure mid-table, probably getting towards end of the season now, nothing much to play for. And similarly, Walsall and Sutton drew 1-1. Again, both of those teams kind of mid-table, nothing really much in it. That concludes the results. And I'm going to pass on to Liam, and Liam's going to go through the table.
Yeah, interesting results, and they definitely have impacted sort of the top end and the bottom end of the table. Starting at the bottom, as you should. Look, that win for Hartlepool's put them in such a really good position. Like we were talking about Crawley's games in hand not so long ago. They're now completely gone, and Crawley are only 2 points ahead of Hartlepool now, and
Yeah.
that's I've said it before. Rochdale looking for a new manager as well. I think they might be too long gone now.
Yeah.
Coming to the end of the season now, I think they're definitely gone. But
Yeah.
Crawley and Hartlepool is going to be a really, really interesting battle, and you can add Colchester to that mix as well because they're only a point ahead of Crawley.
Yeah, and I did forget to mention a Rochdale win, but like you say, it doesn't really improve their chances by a lot.
Yeah, it was just more of an embarrassment for Wimbledon than anything else. But yeah, them three teams, Colchester, Crawley, and Hartlepool. There's 3 points separating all of them. That's just one decent result. Hartlepool are very much behind in goal difference. Colchester very much in front. So that and at this point in the season, that close, that's maybe what it comes down to. But it's definitely going to be a very, very interesting relegation fight. And if things go seriously wrong, Harrogate Town only ahead 1 point ahead of Colchester, 4 points outside the relegation zone. Them from 20th to 24th. It's difficult. It's difficult for all four of them sort of them clubs. I'm not counting Rochdale in that because they're already gone. But the four above them, any one of them could sort of fit into that last relegation place. And I think I'd be very concerned if I was any of them teams. And then you look sort of towards the top end of the table. And the playoff picture's looking a little bit interesting as well because Mansfield have definitely got a chance to take over Salford and go ahead of them. I know they played each other not so long ago, but Mansfield are they're 2 points behind Salford, but with a game in hand. And Salford have looked so good. You talk about the goal scoring stats of this season. I'm pretty sure is it Salford that are number one now?
Yeah, Salford have got 61 goals.
Yeah, and they're the top goal scorers in the division, and they might drop out of the playoffs altogether if Mansfield can win that game in hand. I'll just check. Their next game is against Swindon, who are dropping points as well. They seem to be, really knocking down the bottom end of the table. But yeah, as well, I don't want to talk about it because it's not looking great for Carlisle at the top. But the top three is now Leyton Orient, Northampton, and Stevenage, with Carlisle just 2 points behind Stevenage, 4 points behind Northampton. However, Stevenage do have a game in hand on Carlisle. And look, it's looking a little bit more difficult for Carlisle or Stockport to break into that top three. It's not impossible. And look, if Stevenage lose and we win, we're straight back in there.
Yeah.
But Northampton now being 4 points ahead is worrying for that. And and you look below us now. We're only 5 points off Mansfield in eighth. So we're nearly as close to not being in the playoffs at all than being back to second, where it feels like we were only there a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and I know someone who's been saying for weeks now that we're not even going to make the playoffs. Super pessimistic. It's really annoying when we have these things where it looks like he might have a point, but but if if you're still going on about how we're not even going to make the playoffs when we're sort of second
Fourth.
And looking like we might, but it was saying this back when we were second.
Yeah.
You do get some really pessimistic, just moaning, can't enjoy the good times. You get some of them and.
Well, you'd be right as well. They do actually love to be right.
We do have to watch over our shoulders now for the bottom side of the playoffs.
And it's annoying as well because Barra are now only 5 points off it. Can you imagine if we drop out and they get into it? That'll make me physically sick, genuinely physically sick. What are we? What? I'm trying to do the maths in my head. 8 points ahead of them, so we're still we're a good few points ahead of them. But I don't think that's anything to worry about because I think worst case scenario, I think we finish fifth. And maybe we'll go on to talk about this a bit more. But we've had such a bad run of games, and we're sort of coming towards the end of them bad run of games now. We've got a couple of easy ones coming up, but I say easy, no teams are easy in this division. But look, that promotion race from second down to eighth. is wide open for any of those teams, and it's worrying because there was a point where we had quite a nice point gap into them automatic promotion places.
Yeah,
But now,
there was
and we're not out of it at all. Like,
no.
by no stretch of the imagination are we out of the race, but it's more open than I would like it to be.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point when our form made it look like we didn't have that much to worry about, but form's been switching around between these kind of like top teams all season, and at any given point in the season so far, there's been one team that are in and about the automatic places that are on really poor form, and at the moment it's us. It's not a good time in the season for it to be us. Stevenage and Northampton and Orient, Bradford as well, of Salford. These teams have all had spells where they've been looked poor, not been able to get wins, and looked like they could potentially fall out. And then, kind of you start winning a couple of games and another team goes on bad form. So I guess we've kind of got to hope that, having seen that, there's nothing about...
I think that's going to be Stevenage,
Yeah, there's nothing
because
about...
if they lose next week, they're on exactly the same last 4 games as us.
Yeah, and there's nothing about either Northampton or Stevenage, or indeed the teams below us, that makes me think that they're now set for the season. Maybe Orient are a different thing because they've got a cushion and we've seen how good they can be. The other ones, we know that they're more than capable of going on a run where they just can't buy a win. And you just kind of got to hope that that they're not going to suddenly just see out the season comfortably. They're gonna, the fight's gonna continue, and hopefully with Paul Simpson, we've got the right stuff for it.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads still to play for. Stevenage are actually just on the pretty much the same form that we're on. It's just that it's just hit us in a different way. That's all. Like the last 6 games for us, it's the same amount of points between us and Stevenage. So they're not closing out the season in any shape or manner.
I mean, for us, it's the fact that we've stopped scoring. That's kind of like, that's clearly why we're on bad form, and that's there.
Yeah. But then you need little bits of good luck and stuff like that as well to start coming your way, I feel, and we don't seem to be getting much of that. We're not getting the own goals going our way at the moment, or we're not getting those wicked deflections and stuff like that. And there just needs to be belief that for people to get into the box with the ball a little bit more as well. I feel like the fullbacks are more quick to whip that cross in rather than try and take on the man and get into the box and try and win those penalties as well, because in League Two I'm pretty sure the average penalty per team thing is 10 over the course of a season. It's pretty high, and so I just feel like we haven't had
the last penalty we had.
It was quite recently, but
it was the only one. I remember someone saying it's the first penalty we'd had in the season.
So we actually just had 1 penalty all season,
something like that. I think we've only had one against.
We don't have the ball. So my point is we don't have the ball enough in the box at the moment, and so I feel like that really is affecting us and our chances as well, because teams can read you from further afoot if we're crossing from too far out, or we don't have any midfielder, in my opinion, that's necessarily good enough at taking the ball into the box that was starting on Saturday or the previous Saturday. He's been sat on the bench for the last 2 Saturdays, and his name's Gibson.
And
go on.
And arguably, we're sort of over the last 6 games have actually kind of been probably our best defensive games of the season. Obviously, results haven't been good, but that's basically sort of come down to two goals that we've conceded, one of which was the own goal against Leyton Orient, which, was a bit unlucky the way it went in, and also the Gillingham goal, sort of 98th minute or something. That, for the most part, those goals are the only kind of ways we've been breached, and it's a problem, obviously, that we're not scoring, so that's happened in 2 games in a row, so we've lost 2 games in a row and had only drawn the previous 2.
Yeah, both of them 0-0 as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's we're actually all right defensively at the moment. It just happens to coincide with a spell where we're really bad going forward, despite having been the top scorers in the division.
But that's it. There's not been enough venom in like the last 6 or 7 games. There's not been enough malice going forward, and but we spoke about Omari Patrick last week, not necessarily maybe having the guts to take on his fullback anymore, and like not having as much of an impact on the game that he used to have, and he goes missing during games massively and doesn't seem to kick on that turn of pace that he could turn on last season. I don't know if the fullbacks have got quicker or Omari's got slower since his injury. I know which one's the more likely.
I don't think it's either. I think it's just a pure matter of confidence. It was so noticeable against Orient that he wouldn't do what he usually wouldn't try and take on a defender. He would try like the safe option. He'd take a touch, pass it back or something like that for someone else to cross it in, or he would take the cross himself.
Yeah.
I genuinely think it's not even a matter of him losing his pace. I think it's just he doesn't have the confidence he once had to sort of take on them defenders.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in and out of the team, partly through injury, sometimes through rotation, that maybe that affects how quickly you can build up that confidence. But as well, some players, when when the problem is, in our case, going forward, some players don't necessarily have the right mindset to be like, right, well, I'm going to... Instead, they become, and I think Gibson can be pretty guilty of this as well, being I'll try and play safe options, all that kind of thing.
Well, you got to fit into a certain system as well, haven't you? If you're being asked to play the ball rather than run with the ball, then that's part of it. But also there's been Patrick's one of them that's been removed from the sort of player that would make that run into the box. The other one for me is Dennis, who's been removed from the squad recently. Not making the run into the box, but Dennis would like to receive the ball into his feet, just inside the box. And so, if he tried to turn and he was fouled, you could get a penalty that way, or, you get a free kick just outside the box that way, or he could turn and then maybe play someone in. And he's done it. And he's also been able to sort of get himself in there as well with Mox, just being able to make them the short runs. A lot of Dennis's runs aren't coming from 40 yards out and he's trying to beat the fullback for pace. A lot of Dennis's runs were clever. They were nice, simple sort of edge of the box kind of runs. And it was a nice little pass in from Moxon, and I just don't think we've got those kind of players that attack the box enough at the moment, and that's where the lack of goals is coming from, because Garner drops deeper to get involved, so he's not necessarily in the box too much. And like we said about Patrick, who's been playing consistently at the moment, he just hasn't got the venom to get in the box and maybe take that foul at the moment. Maybe he's not willing to take that foul. And maybe that's part of the problem, while he's trying to take people on, he's not willing to get wiped out at the same time. But anyway, we'll move on. We haven't even done the news yet. Jesus, bloody hell. We'll move on, gentlemen. We'll move on to the next bit, which is the news, Carlisle United related. So tickets for the Barrow game have sold out. So stop coming to my workplace. This woman came in the kitchen today. I'm not even joking. This woman came into the Fox's restaurant, into the kitchen, and asked me where she could buy some tickets.
Probably just lost. God bless her.
Yeah, but there's it's just and anyway, they're sold out, so you can't get any more Barrow tickets. And for people that do need to know where the ticket offer is, it's on the East stand, it's on the Pioneer stand, it's not on the paddock side anymore, it's not on that side of the stadium, it's on the other side. Go to the other side of the stadium. Honestly, 3 or 4 times a week, mate. Constantly just people where can I get tickets?
To put a sign outside.
There's lots of signs.
There's a lot of signs.
There's a lot of signs. There's a lot of signs. But anyway, they sold out in 3 hours. Amazing support by the Cumbrian faithful, the Carlisle faithful.
A lot less than that, I can tell you that. That's when they announced the tickets were sold out. But I rang at about 10 to 12 and they were sold out then. So, it was a lot before that when they sold out of tickets. I'll tell you that. I'd say it took about not even 2 hours for them to completely sell out.
Well, there you go. There's inside report.
There's probably been a lot of people waiting for those tickets to go on sale, and probably people did expect them to sell out as well, so they rushed to get them. I don't know if there's a chance that Barrow could release more.
No, they don't have a big enough ground, I don't think.
Nah, you can't do that. No. They'll try and take us for as much money as they can.
They could do what
so.
Salford did once upon a time and like open up half, like literally split the ground in half.
Yeah, that's never popular among the home fans, but fortunately Salford don't have any.
Well,
But-
It's the added bonus there. In other news, gentlemen, after both coming off due to hamstring injuries on the weekend, Morgan Feeney and Finn Back have been ruled out of this weekend's game against Tranmere and more than likely going forward, but it's still unknown quite how far into the rest of the season those injuries are going to affect the team. Lads,
Yeah,
it's too late to bring anyone in. That's not an option. Luckily enough, Joel Senior and Jack Ellis are back available, as is, of course, Ben Barkley and
Is
Corey
Jack Ellis
Whelan.
available, man?
Yeah, it was
Like, 'cause
reported on
he's
News
been
and
back from
Star
injury.
that Jack Ellis is...
Yeah.
right, okay, I see what you're saying.
Is
Right,
he like
okay.
match fit sort of thing?
Well, he's saying he is.
yeah. I mean, with no shortage of players that can fit those positions, there's Corey Whelan as well. So
Yeah.
it's just whether, like I said before, we've been doing quite well defensively recently, and you hope that having to mess around with the back too much isn't going to upset that balance.
I don't know why, but this is the way I would do it for some reason. I'd bring Ellis in as a centre-back and put Joel Senior out at right-back.
That's mental.
Yeah,
Why?
you said you don't know why.
He's a centre-back. Like, he is a centre-back. That's his natural position.
He was a centre back.
No, he is a centre-back. That's his natural position. The only reason he's out right is because he's quick enough to play out right at the moment. Like, he could be a decent
he's
on a
played
back three. On a back three, think about it, lads, for a couple of seconds. Give me some credit here. On a back three, like, as good as he's been, are you telling me that, like, Ben Barkley or Corey Whelan is going to play with his heart on his shirt anywhere near as much as Jack Ellis is going to do in that? He's going to be like another John Mellish.
It's not a matter of that though. It's will they do it more than Joel Senior? Because I would play Jack Ellis. I agree with you, but I'd play him right back instead of Senior.
Mm-hmm. And then you play him in centre back.
I think it's between Barkley and Whelan for the
It
centre back.
is, yeah. I would pick Whelan, but Simpson will go with Barkley.
Yeah.
Really? I think Simpson will go with Barkley. Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, we have discussed that before, so when Huntington was out.
Hunt's right next to Jack. Like, that just makes sense to me, and I just think that's the way to go. I just feel like you're going to get a better performance out of them. I just feel like you're going to get a better squad performance out of going with the Cumbrians.
Well, you still do go with the Cumbrians, just in a different place.
The thing is, like, yeah, and we are talking about a part of the pitch where it's not really been a huge problem. So. Which makes me want to just kind of be a bit more safety first with.
So you think Joel Senior, or do you think Jack Ellis is a better right back than Joel Senior? Then obviously,
you were talking about centre backs, but yeah,
no. Yeah, but that's what you're saying though. If you're going to put Jack Ellis at right back and you're going to take Joel Senior out of the squad, you're saying.
Well, I think our best
right
performance this season.
I don't think there's a lot between
right
them.
back.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot between them, but Ellis is competing with him at a younger age. As a local lad.
Yeah.
But those are my same points about putting him at centre back.
Yeah, but you're putting him at centre back.
Play centre back.
He does play centre back.
Wait, a long time ago.
He hasn't played centre back. He hasn't played centre back at a senior level yet. Yeah, but he hasn't done that at a senior level yet.
So, you're going to do it for a week in training, honestly.
He's been fantastic when he's come into the team, and he's always played at right back. If he played at centre back in like the youth team and that, but whenever he's played senior football, he's been at right back.
But loads of youth players that have been centre back come through as right backs and left backs, and eventually transition back into their natural position. And it's a back three. It's not a back two.
Messing about with that. Yeah, now's not the time to start messing about with
you
that,
don't mess about with people's positions with 7 games left till the end of the season.
Yeah, when you're like, we've got injuries in defence.
You think, hang on, this is confusing. Yeah. This is going to be a confusing one to put across, right? This is going to be a confusing one to put across. Do you both think that Joel Senior is
Keep going on about Joel Senior.
No, wait.
No one's mentioned Joel Senior.
Is a worse right back than Corey Whelan and Ben Barkley are better centre backs. If you know what I mean. Do you know what I mean? Like
What?
I don't even understand that question. Do you think that Joel Senior is a worse right back than Corey Whelan and Ben Barkley?
You know what I mean? If you see the back line as like out of 100, do you know what I mean? And you have to sort of like balance it out, and like everyone's got like fuck it, I can't explain it. Right? That's what it is. It's gonna be hard to explain.
To put it simply,
go on.
Ellis at right back, and either Barkley or Whelan at centre back. Because I think they're all better than Joel Senior.
I think there's a chance
right. Okay, right. That's good. Yeah, right.
I don't think there's much in it between Ellis and Senior, and I think there's a chance Senior will play because I don't know what Ellis's match sharpness and stuff looks like in training.
Okay, fair enough. We'll move on to the last little bit of news, lads. It's been reported Carlisle's financials have been looking all right this year in terms of fees being paid to agents. It seems like the duo of Paul Simpson and Greg Abbott have been able to save over the last 2 transfer windows compared to their predecessors' last 2 transfer windows, over £10,000 in representative and agent fees over the course of the season. And obviously, compared to last season where we're struggling for relegation, and this season where we're, pushing towards success of some kind, saving 10 grand along the way at a football club like Carlisle United. Hats off to Greg Abbott and Paul Simpson. What do you think that says about Paul Simpson and Greg Abbott, lads? Do you think that's the experience of 2 men that have been around the game long enough to twist the arms of agents? Like, what do you think it is?
I think it's the players we've been signing that are kind of like mostly, well, obviously, players from our own
we're also including the contract renewals and things like that as well. So over the Dickinson back forwards.
Yeah, I mean, all these players have agents, but I imagine a lot of them will have cheaper agents than, say, players who've been around the league for a while or have. If you look like, what's Joel Senior's agent going to be like compared to, say, Christian Dennis's or Amari Patrick's? Is bringing in players from places like the Scottish lower leagues, from non-league in the UK, and dealing with a lot of our own academy products. I think these sorts of players are probably going to have agents who aren't asking as much as the experienced league players' agents are.
If any agents at all, in some cases.
I mean, they will have agents.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time it's like, it's my dad.
Some of that as well, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, you never know, but hats off to those guys. It's a reflection of work well done, isn't it? At the end of the day, those figures and what's happening on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an indication of just how we're doing in the transfer market generally. That we're finding players that are maybe a little bit more off the beaten track, maybe aren't as widely known.
I think it shows as well how poor David Holdsworth was at his job.
Fair comment. Right, lads. I mean, we're having a good time, we're trying to avoid the stinky thing in the room, the elephant in the room at the moment, maybe. We haven't quite leaped into a match report yet, and nor shall we, because first, boys, it's once again your time of the show to try and get a full house in True Blue or Not a Blue. Diddly, 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 doo. All right, boys, we're looking for players, or we're not looking for players, shall we say, from the season of 1992, 1993. So, we're not too far away. We have to, it's not too far away. And, gentlemen, let's try and get off to a good start this time, boys. Come on, here we go. This is the first time we attempt a full house, 4 out of 4. True Blue or Not a Blue. The first name on the list is Callum O'Hanlon.
Callum O'Hanlon.
Oh, okay.
Callum O'Hanlon.
So, like Callum O'Hare and Sean O'Hanlon merged.
Callum O'Hanlon.
Right.
Right.
Aye.
I'm kind of like thinking you've just taken Callum O'Hare and Sean O'Hanlon and made one player out of them.
I'll back that.
Really? You're both going together, so you're saying not a blue for
Yeah.
Callum O'Hanlon.
Yeah.
The accent throws me off as well.
I mean, lads, who would make up a name like Callum O'Hanlon, for Christ's sake? Like, he was Tony Craig's number 2. He was a blue. You've got off to a terrible start, unfortunately, because Callum O'Hanlon was a blue.
Callum O'Hanlon.
Right. Well, it's Kelham, so it's Kellen.
Fuck off.
It's Irish.
Like, if you got to at least like pronounce it so we actually know what you're saying.
Callum O'Hanlon.
Callum O'Hanlon.
It's Kellen. It's Kellen.
God.
There you go.
I'm going to
Anyways,
feel that's
we'll
not
move
what
on
he
to-
said.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the next one anyway. We'll gloss over that one. Rory Gallimore.
False.
I was.
Strong from
yeah.
Liam. Back in Liam, here we go. Rory Gallimore, not a blue. Well done, boys. You're on the score
Tony
sheet.
Gallimore wasn't there.
There was a
Tony.
defender called Tony Gallimore. Yeah, well done. The next one, gentlemen. Paul Walsh.
Yeah. There's
I've
loads of Paul Walshes. There's Paul Walshes everywhere.
92, 93. Paul
Yeah.
Walsh. I'm afraid Paul Walsh was not a blue in 1992, I'm afraid, boys.
Was he at one point, though?
The Derek Walsh was a player in 1992. And I think I got Paul from, can't remember, another one of the players anyway that was in the squad as well.
There's a
The
lot of
last
Pauls.
one. There's a lot of Pauls.
Yeah.
The last one, gentlemen. So at least you can get 50% again, as same as last week potentially. Here we go. David McKeary.
I've heard of McKeary.
So yes,
Oh.
I mean, we know he mixes players together.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So,
I don't know the first name, but I know.
let's say
McKeary
yes.
was.
Yeah, I'm going to go yes.
We're going yes with David McKeary, boys.
Yeah.
Well done. You've managed to save it at the end. David McKeary was a blue and was in fact a player manager for Carlisle United during 1992 and 1993. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for playing True Blue or Not a Blue. Diddly 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 do. Well, that was a bit of a fart and a lift, unfortunately, and we're gonna have to stumble.
Didn't like your accent.
We're going to have to stumble our way into the match report now, lads, which is, it's going to be quite hard at the end of what we've just done. Unfortunately, my PC's gone all over the place and I'll have to do some editing. But yeah, fortunately, gentlemen, it's time for the match report. And as we always do here on the Blue Army podcast, we'll start proceedings with Carlisle United starting lineup for their 1-0 defeat against Leyton Orient at the weekend, which featured Thomas Hoyley in goal, returning from injury right back Finn Back, Paul Huntington, Morgan Feeney, John Mellish and Jack Armour across the back line, with McCalmont, Guy, Moxon in the midfield, and Dennis and Patrick both playing up front. So it was nice to see Finn back from injury for, let me just check, 39 minutes. Absolutely heartbreaking, boys. Really excited to have him back in the squad. I feel like we all were. He did fantastically well over the 10, 12 games that he did play early on in the season. Been out for just over 3 months. And it's a big disappointment to see him limp off there. But before that injury, Morgan Feeney went off in the 8th minute of the game. Wills, how does this impact the team? Just to happen in the first half, 2 of the back 5 being taken out. And how do you feel Gibson and Barkley slotted in to those positions?
Well, I mean, from listening to it on the radio, it sounded like it sounded like they did all right there. But it will upset the match preparation if especially Feeney after having to come off after only 8 minutes. There's all this, it's not just the tactics, but there's all like the set piece routines, which centre backs usually are quite key in. So that there's all that stuff as well. Just kind of like all the preparation that's been made with Feeney, and after 8 minutes, it's had to change.
Yeah, I mean, Liam, you were there. How did that kind of affect the atmosphere of the game? When there's injuries on the pitch, it kind of like it can sometimes make a crowd quieten down while they're waiting for these stoppages. What was the atmosphere like in the first half?
The atmosphere was really good, and I think the Morgan Feeney one happened first, and I don't think that one impacted the crowd as much because I don't know why, but it didn't feel as serious. If you get what I mean, like I think people just kind of, whether it's true or not, people kind of assumed that Morgan Feeney would be all right, but Finn Back went down right next to the away supporters, and you could tell in the way that he sort of went down that it was not looking good because it was one of them ones where he's not rolling around on the floor laughing, and he kneels down and he puts his head in his hands, and you just think, oh. That's not a good sign. And I think with everyone being so excited to have him back, to have back, and for him to be taken away so soon again after that, and with the comeback story, and obviously he's putting this stuff on Twitter about, glad to be back. It was such a nice moment to have him in the team again, and then taken off so soon. It was a massive gut punch, and you could tell in the crowd that it was a big loss.
To me, it just feels like it was always going to kind of upset the back line and in the squad. But I feel like they did a really good job, and it didn't necessarily, it wasn't their fault apart from the goal. Because, the goal came in the 73rd minute of the game. It was pretty quiet going up until that point. Both teams kind of starved for chances, and then broke free to the number 10 on the left-hand side. Barkley's not closing him down. By the time he takes a touch out to the right, Paul Huntington's also failed to close him down. There's been a deflection, and it's just came off John Mellish's shin and somehow managed to lob a 6'7" goalkeeper to end up in the back of the net. I mean,
it was a brilliant finish. It was a fantastic finish.
Were you not in a bit of disbelief though? Like, when that kind of happened?
Yeah, because it was so against the run of play as well. Like, we were so on top up until that moment. And, you felt like the goal was coming for us. They go down the other end, and it's a wicked deflection. It comes off two of our players. It goes down as an own goal for John Mellish, which I think is really harsh because there's not really much you can do about it. And I think it's just extremely unlucky. And, that's why Leyton Orient are where they are at the top. If you're going to win the league, you need to get lucky. And they did last time they played us as well, if you remember. We had like that big apology from the FA saying that, their goal was offside and we should have had about 3 penalties. So, when you play against the top teams, well, maybe not in them words.
Should have had about 3 penalties.
but that's what it is. That's when you come up against Leyton Orient, they're going to get the rub of the green. They're a very lucky team, and they're a very, very good, well put together team as well. And them two things combined are the only way any team can win the league. I think it's just an unfortunate goal, to be honest. I think there's not really much the defence can do about it.
Yeah, and there was a red card that also involved Mellish. Almost everything evolved around Mellish in this game towards the last 20 minutes of the game. Kelman picked up a second yellow. And I mean, from where you were, Liam, what did it look like to you? It seems like Mellish played his part really well to me in the video.
Yeah, he looked good. I just thought it was really funny because the foul happened and everyone just was like, "Oh, foul!" And then somebody towards the back of the stand shouted, "He's on a yellow!" And then the entire sort of crowd stood up and was like, "Send him off, send him off, send him!" Because no one realised that was a second yellow until one guy at the back of the stand shouted that he'd already been booked, and then everyone realised and wanted him to get sent off. But yeah, Mellish did well to. I assume that's who it was. Yeah, Mellish, but. yeah, he did well, and it was a stupid tackle from the number 23. Yeah, he should have got I think he should have got sent off a little bit before that, because that wasn't the sort of first tackle after his yellow card that he'd done. But yeah, definitely a second yellow.
And the big last opportunity, Wills, also fell to John Mellish. There was what we were talking about earlier on, or at least what I was talking about earlier on. Guilty again. Carlisle crossing from really deep, poor delivery, and cleared quite easily by Leighton Orient, who, to be honest, just sort of relaxed a little bit too early. And Callum Guy did quite well to make the most of the deflection, but miscommunication between the two centre-backs meant that Mr. John Mellish was through on goal, and there was a great touch to take it away from the defender and a great touch to take it away from the goalkeeper. And then, Will, have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what must he be thinking on the bus home after that? I mean, fantastic that he got in that position.
Yeah. I mean, he had a great chance against, was it Stevenage just before halftime or something against that? He just miskicks it, doesn't he? But if you want to
he just needs to finish it.
If you want to kind of be
through it and finish it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be kind of a bit more kind of lenient towards him, the keeper does get something on it, and it bounces off his knee, and it's still in front of him. But maybe it breaks his stride. The ball's kind of a bit under him instead of where he wanted to put it, and he's got to kind of try and dig it out a bit. He doesn't manage. He just manages it kind of. But yeah, no, if you look at it, the keeper does get it, and it bounces back at Mellish. So I think maybe that's just
and he didn't just get a touch on the ball. The keeper, he got a touch on Mellish as well. Which I remember saying at the time, to give him as much credit as possible.
Yeah.
It was a difficult one to finish because he was sort of off balance. The ball took a touch off the keeper as well. And I don't think he realised how much time he had because he had time when he got sort of past the keeper. There was no one else there. And he just, I think he panics a little bit because he's fallen over and the ball's, he hasn't really got as clean a touch on it as he was like to get.
Yeah.
He just attempts to get something on target, and unfortunately the Leighton Orient players back to clear it off the line.
Yeah, and it's it's late in a game that we're losing and we haven't scored in a while, and it's maybe all just symptomatic of this.
Yeah.
The pressure is maybe getting to us a bit because we've stopped scoring right at the worst time to do so. Can't really get more high pressure than, a last minute chance to equalize as well. So, maybe it's just kind of pressure getting to players a bit similar to what we were talking about Amari Patrick.
I mean, it'll be a debate that can go on in pubs up and down Carlisle until the end of the season.
Are you going to say up and down the country?
I did just fine. Thank you. I said what I meant. I mean what I say.
Pubs up and down Botchergate.
Yeah, up and down Botchergate, Warwick Road, the Beehive, the Magpie, maybe, places like that. But yeah, it's a debate that can go on in pubs up and down Carlisle. The fact that what combination of strikers do you put together? There's so many good strikers at Carlisle United and nobody's really scoring. So, it's sod's law who you can really put in that position, and anybody can take any opinion in any side and play a front three or a front two or whatever way around they want to do it. There's so many different ways to do that combination, and every one of them can be right and every one of them, has got the merits. Fortunately, and as we all trust, Paul Simpson will find that combination to the safe and regain the goals again, and they'll start flowing.
Turn those taps on, for, isn't it?
That's it. That's what we're all hoping for. Lads, normally we don't, after a defeat, give a Foxes feature man of the match, but I mean, I'd like to nominate John Mellish. Okay.
Yeah, by all means.
Yeah, Liam, you were there, so I feel like you've got a good, well-rounded opinion at least. Go on. Not that yours isn't Will, sorry.
There we go for me then, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult. I definitely wouldn't give it to John Mellish because his fluffed a big chance and scored an own goal. But I think a player that stood out to me, especially in the first half when we were on top for large portions, was Alfie McAlmond. You know, he really surprised me in a positive way, and it's difficult because I agree that Gibson should probably be put back into the midfield at some point. And I think if you're gonna do that, Alfie McAlmond's probably the one to drop out. But some of his sort of like pressing in the first half was really, really impressive, and he really did impress me. So Alfie McAlmond for me, man of the match.
That's fair enough. Wills, does that change your opinion at all?
Well, I only really have the radio to go off, and they were quite complimentary. And I'm going to drive Liam crazy, but they're quite complimentary to Thomas Holy.
I'd agree.
I'd
100% agree.
And so, based on that, I'm going to give Holy the man of the match.
Yeah, had a good game.
Cool. All right, so we did man of the match. There we go. That's not too bad, then, is it? Things weren't that bad. Things couldn't have been that bad. There were some positives to take away from the day. Lads, at this point, we normally give our predictions for the weekend results, which is obviously that 10 for 10 promotion happening on Saturday. At the moment, I believe Friday. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I believe there's 9,600 tickets sold so far, so very close to hitting that target. And I'm pretty sure they'll be able to do it. So with that huge bumper crowd in front of the Carlisle faithful.
Yeah.
Will, how do you feel that Carlisle United are going to fare on Friday?
I think we're going to win. I've been staying positive. We're back. Tranmere not having a great season. Are they still managerless? They did sack Mickey Mellon recently because we talked about it. I don't know if they've got anyone yet.
I think they're still managerless.
Yeah.
Maybe not by the time this podcast comes out, though.
Season's fizzled. Yeah, season's fizzled out for them. And hopefully 2-0 to Carlisle, I'm going to say. Still stay positive.
I like it. I don't think that's overly optimistic because I'm going to say 3-0. The goals are going to flow at Brooklyn Park this weekend. Liam, what are you going to say?
Got a weird feeling. 4-0.
Oh.
It's a coming. The goals are a coming. It's due down at Brunton Park. And
McAlmond's going to score.
And the ball came, and Callum Guy's going to score a hat-trick. I wonder the answer on that. Why not? I'll throw that on. That'll be fun. That'll be a fun one. I mean, God, the odds on that would be crazy. Anyway, lads, obviously going on at the 10 for 10, there's going to be a live music stage. There's going to be carnival rides. There's going to be a trampoline park. There's going to be there's all the food trucks that are normally there, the bar services that are normally there outside. So, get yourselves down there because, I mean, I'm hoping that I'm going to get the opportunity to talk to the youth team manager, Mark Birch, and maybe a player as well on the live music sort of stage. So, that would be kind of cool. That would be going on just before 2:30. So I get down there around 2 o'clock. I'll just get down there around 1:30 and get some food and get yourself settled in because it's going to be busy. So if you want a table, you'd be better off getting yourself down there a little bit earlier, I'd suggest, probably, because there's not that many tables, unfortunately. We always struggle to get our bench, don't we, boys?
Yeah.
We're normally down there at, 1:30-ish, 2-ish, aren't we? But we always struggle to get a table. But it's always a good time down there at the fan zone, and they're trying to put on a few more attractions this weekend. So get yourselves down there for that, boys. The weekend after that, sponsored by this podcast, Matty Robson is appearing at Brunton Park April 15th. He's going to be answering a couple of questions in the East Stand around 2:30 and then making his way over to the container bar in the fan zone just after that to have a pint and a meet and greet as well. There's also going to be a DJ playing in the East Stand, playing all your old school FIFA tunes. All the FIFA playlists and that. So that'll be fun. That should be fun, So hopefully the East Stand will enjoy a bit of music from a DJ, and that's going to go down on April 15th. Boys, it's time for the final segment of the show. It's time for what everybody's waiting for. That's right. Come on, here we go. Guess in the player. Yeah, guess in the player. Guessing the player. Cole guessing the player. It's Cole guessing the player, boys. Guessing the player. Guessing the player. It's Cole guessing the player. Come on, boys. Cole guessing the player. That's guessing right. That's right. This weekend has been a downer, but it's time to finish things on an absolute worldie as Liam once again has the opportunity to take the lead after going level last week, but he's going to have to wait because it's Will's turn to go first. That's right, and Will's records here on the Blue Army podcast, I believe he's had 2 Grand Slam hits so far in his Blue Army podcast
I know
career.
I got the first one.
You definitely had.
I remember Lubo Mitchell because that was the very first one.
Pretty sure it was definitely. You had one, Liam. You've got 1, and Will's got 2, I think.
Yeah, I got a 2 who.
Yeah. Pretty sure.
Did I not get Alessandra as well? I think
I think you got him on the first go.
On the Alessandra, did you get 2?
I think I got 2.
It makes sense. We'll have to go back and listen. Everyone should go back and listen to the 5 minutes.
Are you not making
like 8
notes?
podcasts.
You're not
not on every single episode and how every point got scored.
You keep them score at least.
I know what the current score is. It's 9-9. I know what the current score is. It's 9-9. And I know it's your turn to go next because you've both had a dig at me for not remembering that shit in the past. So I write it down now. But boys, it's time for guessing the player. Will, you're going first. It's time for you to stretch a lead out to 12-9 with the first clue of guessing the player this week.
Okay.
This player played for Sheffield Wednesday just before signing for Carlisle United.
Was it Steven Skugel?
I thought you were going to assassinate. I thought you were going to dive in there really quickly because you left a big long gap there. Steven Skugel. It's not, I'm afraid, mate. That's not who it is this week.
He was Sheffield United. I thought of him as well. Yeah.
Well, it's now Liam's first opportunity to take the lead for the first time ever in guessing the player.
I doubt it's going to happen. I haven't a clue. I thought of Rod McDonald first, but he was Gillingham. But I can't think of was it Nat Knight Percival?
He was
Bradford,
yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly, Will. Yeah, he's not, I'm afraid. It's not that. So it's time for your second guess.
Yeah.
Very confident of Will's there, just branded you away there. But that's the first time that's ever happened. You guys throw down the gauntlet for this one. I like it. All right, here we go. The slap of the glove. Will's, your opportunity to take the lead once again. As well as this player formerly playing for Sheffield Wednesday before signing for Carlisle United, he also played with Carl the Hitman Hawley at Walsall.
Was it?
Liam looks really excited.
No, I'm not. Honestly, I'm.
Oh, it's deep in thought. Okay, fair enough.
I'm gonna go with Kevin Gall. Oh no, shit! No. I misunderstood you think. Yeah.
It's not Kevin Gall, I'm afraid, mate. But
I was thinking of
that.
I was thinking who played with Carl Hawley, and then like as I said, it was like, oh no, he said that Walsall.
Well, Liam, it's your turn. He played with Carl the Hitman Hawley at Walsall. Who could it be?
When was he about? I know you can't tell me. I'm just thinking.
Maybe Will can. I don't know. Like Will's been confident this episode.
I presume the Carl. Yeah,
I wouldn't expect him to.
I presume that the Carl Hawley thing's the clue to when he was about.
I know, but I can't think of when he was about. Sheffield Wednesday.
Tough one.
It is. There's someone on my mind, but I can't remember his name at all.
Ooh.
Sorry, this is very boring for the listeners, but just know I'm
Okay,
I'm
it's okay. Yeah,
I'm deep
gives
in
me a
thought.
chance.
I can edit. I can edit
Yeah.
the silences.
It gives me a chance to have a think as well.
Fine. I can edit the silences and make them shorter.
Because I'm weirdly competitive about this.
But if you don't get this,
Well, I haven't got any points
I've got
in
a brand
ages
new I've got a brand new
and-
feature. I've got a brand new feature for Wills. If
Like
you
a
don't get
draw
this
breaker.
on this question, right? It's. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. We'll see. You have to tell me what a jawbreaker is.
Not a drawbreaker, not a jawbreaker.
Oh no.
Jawbreaker, like a gobstopper.
No, it's a proposition bet. But
Oh,
you've got to guess this. You got to guess this. You got to guess this.
Yep. Okay. He was definitely not Byron Webster.
Well, you're right. He definitely wasn't Byron Webster. You're
Are you just
absolutely
kind
right.
of like thinking about defenders? You just
I can't go
got
mind of
defenders
Byron
from the like
Webster.
2017 8 season.
It's another shout. It's another shout.
He played in
Wills, at
blue,
this
but it was
point,
Cardiff.
Yeah.
at this point, I'm going to introduce a brand new feature. I'm going to call it the Wicked Wango card. And if you wanted to play it, you could potentially win 3 points because it is your turn to go next. And there was only really 1 point on the line. You know, there's only 1 point. You know, what are you going to do with 1 point? That's not great. You know,
Put me in the lead.
But if you had the courage, Will, if you had the courage, sir, you could pass this opportunity over to Liam. And if Liam gets it wrong, you get 3 points.
All right.
Will?
No, I'll have the question.
I'll put my Wicked Wango card away for this week at least. I feel like that'll make it more interesting.
I want to get one right. I haven't got one right in a while.
I'm so glad you did that, by the way.
Yeah, but there's always the chance that the
I'll
last one
remember
gives
this.
it
I'll
away.
remember this.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
banking
you'll
on the last
remember
one
this.
giving it away.
Well, maybe, you know, we'll see. Here we go. This man is currently part of the Leeds United coaching setup.
Sheffield Wednesday, Walsall, Carl Hawley, now at Leeds. I'm going to go with, I don't know. I don't know, one of them random players that we had once upon a time, like, I don't know. What was his? I don't know. It's got Hooper. Was it Joe Hooper or actually I can't even remember his name. Surname was Hooper.
Hooper. It's not
Hooper.
It's not Hooper. No.
Okay,
it's not
fair
Hooper. No, unfortunately, it's not. It's not Hooper. No. So Liam, you get a chance to take the lead here.
Wills is going to be very annoyed if I'm right.
Yeah.
Because mine rhymes. I don't think it is right though. I'm going to stick with the centre backs. I'm going to go. I think he played for Leeds, and I don't know if he's still playing. I think he might have went into the coaching staff afterwards. Is it Liam Cooper?
It's not Liam Cooper, I'm afraid. No, a total wipeout this week, gentlemen.
Yeah.
As I reveal the man in question, Zigor Arenalde.
I thought of him. I knew that.
Didn't know he came from Sheffield Wednesday.
That's
And
what I
if you
thought as well.
listened to the news, you would have known that he was part of the Leeds United setup because I said it on the news like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I knew he was there as well. Do you know what? I actually thought his name as well before I said it, but I changed it.
I had remembered. I think it came up on the podcast because we were talking about potential managers being linked to places.
No,
And
we've done
so,
that
like,
as well.
I think it actually came up with the podcast that it was at Leeds, but yeah.
I'm gutted there. I knew that. I'm so fuming with myself.
Well, you didn't play the Wicked Wango
Didn't play
card
the
this
Wicked Wango
week.
card. No.
But, you know, you might
A
be
quick
tempted
question
to-
about your
Go on.
you wicked Wango card. If I was
Go
to
on.
then have got it right, would I have got the 3 points?
No, I wasn't planned for that situation.
I think
Surely that's fair.
I think if you I think
don't-
if I'd used it and he got it right, would I then not have a Wicked Wango card for the rest of the season, or do you get a
Well,
new one?
you
every
get
game?
a new one every game, yeah. So I'm gonna have to think.
Yeah,
of
so he's got to have to
as
be
well.
So yeah,
a
it's gonna
reason
be.
not to- I mean, the only reason I could think of not to use it is because I might get the question right, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I suppose if I use it and he gets it wrong,
Yeah, there needs to be an incentive not to use them. It needs to be. It
Yeah.
needs to be a risk.
yeah,
Right,
it's
okay.
like
Yeah, we're gonna have to find.
yeah.
a
I mean,
risk.
the only thing I was thinking of is I could use it and he gets it right, and I could have got that right because the last one was sometimes the last one like proper gives it away,
Yeah.
Mm.
and you've
Well-
just missed a chance to get yourself 1 point.
I know.
Things remain equal once again here on the Blue Army
Yeah.
podcast. The
I suppose
stalemate.
maybe 2 points because, like, if you use the Wicked Wango card, then you are giving up your chance to answer the questions.
Yeah.
It's so funny to hear Will say a Wicked Wango card like 5 times.
You
maybe
know we
like-
take this game seriously.
Maybe like 2 points is fair if you use the Wicked Wango card and they get it right.
Or maybe you gamble the 3 points that then gets taken. And I suppose with 2 people, it's just the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Taking 3 points and selling it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. You know, we got a group chat. We've got a group chat. We don't need, you know, and on that absolute stalemate, gentlemen, there isn't really
An entertaining stalemate.
No, it was nevertheless an
Yeah.
entertaining stalemate. Yeah. I'll enjoy editing those long pauses later.
I mean, at least you can easily see them on the
Well, that's very true. Yeah, that's always
They
good.
weren't,
Yeah,
they
that's
weren't
always
deadly silent.
yeah, they were. To be fair, yeah, they were. Yeah, but on that rather somber stalemate of a note, there isn't really anything else left for us all to say apart from bye for now.
Bye.
But
Bye.
Bye.